Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Her Voice Podcast. I am so excited. It is definitely the holiday season. We're getting ready for decorating, family, good eats. But before we do that, we definitely want to have a hearty, necessary conversation on this segment. I am your host, Coach Ivy. At this time, I want to turn it over to our phenomenal co-hosts, starting with Davida.
Hello. Greetings, everyone. I am Davida Foushee, and like I always say, stay prayed up every day.
Hi, everyone. It's Melonie, and you know he's not through with me yet.
Hey, this is LaTasha, the HR guru.
Hello, and welcome to Her Voice Podcast, the show that allows space for women to gather, converse, and respectfully speak freely. A place where we can have some grown women talk with like-minded women to gain insight and perspective on everyday issues and topics of discussion. I'm your co-host, Crystal, and in this episode, we will discuss her wellness within, navigating soulful conversations on pain, grief, and trauma. Let's welcome our guest, Dr. Markeyta Sconiers.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about our guest before we welcome her all the way into our space. Dr. Markeyta Sconiers, impressive educational achievement span over 27 years, during which she has established herself as a remarkable educator, professor, and administrator at all levels of the education system. Her contributions have positively impacted individuals of diverse ages and social economic backgrounds. As the founding executive director for New Community Outreach, Markeyta created the key Knowledge Empower Youth program, which still exists in Chicago public schools. She was also the founding program director for Be Well Chicago at City Colleges of Chicago. Markeyta has made significant strides in the development and implementation of two outstanding mental wellness programs. These programs prioritize mental wellness, trauma-informed education, and restoring justice practices. So, welcome. I like to call her Doc, although she's probably going to be mad at me, but I'm going to call her Doc for now. So welcome, Dr. Markeyta Sconiers, to our show.
Hey, ladies. How you doing? It's a great day to be well.
It always. So, I'm going to call you Doc. What inspired you to go into the mental wellness field?
First, I'd like to say thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the Her Voice podcast. Thank you, Coach Ivy and the Inspire Her crew. I am honored to be here on today. I always say God has a sense of humor. As you saw from the bio, I'm an educator, but also I'm a believer, and I am a minister. I've been in the music ministry for over 30 years as a worship leader, and I'm also a minister of the gospel. And I was listening to a podcast recently talking about how God calls us to different things. And I was trying to put some pieces together. And I was like, okay, I know I was called to the ministry because I've always been an encourager. God has put me before the people to, kind of set the atmosphere, things like that. But in this podcast, it was saying how God can give you one calling, and it may come to an end, but then another one picks up. And that's kind of where this mental wellness came in. Even though I'm in ministry and I'll continue in the preaching ministry and the music ministry, because I'm an encourager and an advocate, and I had to overcome a lot of traumatic experiences. That's where the interest in mental wellness came up. My undergrad and grad are in psychology, but then I wanted to kind of switch it for the doctorate to be in education. I said, okay, God, know that, we can go and preach and teach and give the word, which we should, God. But I need to be more practical, and I need to know that my experiences weren't only for me, but for others. So I had to educate myself on how to properly bring that forth into the world. And the scripture that all my ministries or callings or what have you are based on is Luke 14:23, where Jesus tells about a parable of a man hosting a great banquet who, after the invited guests all decline with excuses, instructs his servant to go out into the roads, go out into the highways and the byways, the country lanes, and compel people to come so that my house may be full. Now, a lot of people want to take the easy road and go into the way, the mainstream, but who's going to go into the byway, the country road with the bumps and the dirt and the marginalized people that nobody don't want to talk to, even though we're believers. I'm an advocate, just, for anybody. Even if you're LGBTQ, I don't care, because you got a soul and God can save and do whatever he wants to do. So anyway, that's the long and short of it. That's how I got into mental wellness and calling in a ministry as well.
Amen.
I love it. You got me inspired. I don't know what I'm inspired. You got me rare.
Dr. Sconiers, I wanted to ask this quick question. I have two questions for you, but the first one is, what is the difference between mental wellness and mental health?
Good question. Like in the administrative roles that I've had to hire people in mental health. I'm putting that all together, and that's all wrong. In mental health, because mental health, like a psychologist or a teacher, it's a specialized profession where, like I said, I have degrees in psychology dealing with the mind and why it works how it does and how our behavior is a function of how we think and all of that. But mental health goes into deeper. It's also, to me, it's kind of like dissecting the subject of psychology. Whereas you have like depression and anxiety and PTSD, when you're involved in mental health, you're trying to get to the sources of those and knowing the roots of those so that you can help people on a professional basis, whether it's through therapy or through medication, to become more well, if not completely well. Mental wellness is a kind of, I don't want to say it's a newer term, but it's a kind of a little more vast as to just helping people be better people themselves through certain tools and, whether it's through a workshop, it's through a talk, it's through an activity. It's not so much medical as with the mental health, with the licensed clinical social workers, licensed clinical professional counselors. But you do need to have some education as to find the best strategies and practices to help people be well on a more vast scale, not so much a professional one. We have to be professional, but it doesn't necessarily require degrees or specializations.
So would you say it's a more holistic approach?
I will say that.
Yeah.
I'll agree, because I will say that I use some holistic approaches, and being a believer, I use some biblical or scriptural approaches as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. That's good.
My second question comes because I call myself a Zennial sometimes, but really I'm a millennial, and we are, I don't know, we've experienced several traumas in our generation. So I wanted to, we were part of the internet boom. We've made it through Y2K. Right after Y2K, there was, 9/11. We made it through the pandemic with COVID. We've been through a lot, right? So I really wanted to ask you, how do you think societal or collective grief, like natural disasters, I still remember Hugo was when I was like 2, and we just had 2 other natural hurricanes that really tore up our state in North Carolina, and natural disasters, pandemics, election disappointments, affects individual. How do you think these collective and societal grief moments affect individuals differently?
I'm gonna touch on each of those really quick, because you're talking about that political thing. I can be here all night. I'm not gonna do it. All right. But let me kind of sum up when you're talking about natural disasters, and I'm in North Carolina too, and I got kind of a little bit of it, not as bad as my neighbors a couple of hours away, but it was a little devastation here. So shout outs to those that are still dealing with that. We're praying for you. I thank God it wasn't so bad where I was. But kind of to sum that up, let me kind of hit on the pandemic as it relates to Black people. And speaking of natural disasters and societal things, just to put it all in one. I was teaching at the time, and I had to all of a sudden, teach virtually because, all of a sudden it was coming. We didn't know about it till March, of course, but it hit us like that. And there was just so much going on where we had just lost a student in one of my classes. He just died in his sleep, just dealing with that. And then we had the pandemic. Then I had to deal with some of my students, their siblings and parents in the hospital. We don't know what is going on. I had to deal with suicidal students on my Zoom classes. This one guy, he just said, "Hey, answer this for me. I keep trying to kill myself with Xanax and alcohol. Why is it not help? Why is it not working?" And I'm like, so you're dealing with your own trauma, you're dealing with vicarious trauma through your students. And for Black people, just looking at statistics, I usually go to the National Institute of Health, NIH, just to get some information about what's going on in the government or what the government reports. And it was reporting for us regarding the COVID pandemic. And like I said, I saw it firsthand with students. And a lot of these students already came from impoverished neighborhoods, underserved communities. They already, were either poor, homeless, they lost their job, they lost people, they became sick themselves. We already had other things going on within us. And then, not to mention, our beautifulness of being Black comes with some things as well. But the pandemic had a significant impact on the mental health and wellness of Black Americans, and specifically students and or youth, like from about 13 to about 24. And there were increased suicide rates and higher risk of major depressive disorders. Now listen, during that time, I had experienced some deaths. I'm trying to get a telehealth for a therapist. I had to get on like 3 to 4 months wait list. So, it did, to answer your question, it did greatly affect us. And on an individual level, even though some of us gratefully or fortunately are believers, it was still kind of hard. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't want to ramble on and on, but yeah, it was particularly difficult for us beautiful Black people of color.
Yeah. And isn't it amazing how we just go on though?
Yeah.
For the most part. And I heard you say that you had gotten on a waiting list, and I'm sure many reached out for the help that they needed, whether it was therapy or coaching or even support groups, as we have many even online. But it's amazing how we just had to power through. But it really amazes me how we don't realize just how much these incidents in life really impact us. We just don't.
And I forgot.
We tend to stuff it down. We tend to stuff it down and just keep going.
Right. And I didn't mention mass shootings. Like those things affect us, even though they're in a certain area. Those things affects us nationally. Like we all do I want to send my kids to school?
So true.
And we're grieving with the parents who lost children.
Absolutely.
And if I can add a little bit to that, Coach Ivy, us powering through as Black people is in our DNA.
Yeah.
I don't know how good and or bad or not how good that is, but from slavery, we just learned to power through. And as it was just mentioned about the mass shootings, one thing that changed me, we're forever changing as people. With things that we experienced in the pandemic, with everything that we were dealing with. We dealt with George Floyd during that time, and it was forever change. I mean, with everything we were doing, as they say, the straw that broke the camel's back. So it was so much, yes.
Yeah, like you immediately just took the whole cast back there, just that fast.
Yeah,
I saw you, Mel, like, wait a minute, that did happen. Yeah.
So much.
And it wasn't that I forgot that it happened. It's just because it's not an everyday thing.
No, yeah.
It was the whole Black Lives Matter movement that started. Like,
so much has happened, it's like that
We've been through
piece
some stuff, man.
is part of trauma. So you know,
Yeah.
so I'm like,
Yeah.
As I often say to people, especially during the pandemic, but we as Black people, we do it anyway. It's just who we are. But especially during the pandemic, it's like we were walking around with a backpack full of rocks. We kept putting rock after rock, and we don't realize we hunched over and we can barely stand up straight.
Mm.
So that's part of my mission with mental wellness, to teach us Black people, hey, stop. Let me help get this rock out your backpack. I know it's not completely light, but let's do one rock at a time. I need you sitting up a little bit straighter, walking a little bit better. But that's what the pandemic did for us. So when that George Floyd situation happened, baby, they took the biggest boulder and put it in my backpack. I was flatlined.
Wow. Yeah. And I want to say too, before we move forward, as you talk about wellness, that maintaining, that's what I heard just now. It's the maintaining your mental health. That's the wellness piece, is maintaining that. And you know, it's very interesting how a lot of times we'll say we're okay. And we use that as a feeling word, or I'm good. But are you really? And I think because we just keep putting those rocks in our bag until someone almost forces us to sit down and look in the bag and start dealing with it, we don't realize. It's kind of like what Melonie was talking about just now. We don't realize that it was trauma or that it was a traumatic experience until we put a label on it and we really identify these things and really start to expose what's in there, because we do pack it so deeply, you know, and we're so quick to say I'm good. And so it's necessary to have that wellness and these ongoing conversations as well. So that's really great awareness.
Dr. Markeyta, my question stems around childhood trauma. As a person who has experienced childhood trauma, I wanted to ask you, how do you think childhood experiences of trauma shape a person's adult life and their relationships?
Oh yes, whether believer or not, personally speaking, it shapes who you are or who you become as an adult, especially just in life and in relationships. Just a quick, just synopsis. I was raised by my grandparents. My grandmother specifically raised in the church. My mother was a teenage mom, but I was raised in the house with everyone. My grandmother was always Ma. Somebody turned my biological mother on to drugs at an early age. She was so brilliant and so smart in college, but she didn't finish because of the drug addiction. I remember being 12 years old. She would pick me up. Sometimes we'd go to the movies. I remember witnessing her having an overdose in the bathroom and not knowing what to do. Just a lot of different things, witnessing her getting brutally beaten by her boyfriend, just a lot of things that I witnessed with her, but I didn't witness it at home with my grandparents. But, that things like that and other things. I had a cousin at 8 years old who tried to have sex with me. Thank God wasn't able to penetrate me. So, just all these things. And you have to see these people, at family gatherings like nothing's happened. And, and no matter how much Jesus you have, it's not easy. One in particular incident or situation that I dealt with as a child that helped to shape who I am is my grandmother. She was the greatest educator that I knew. She had her own Christian school for 30 years. I went there, then I went to school and I taught for her. I'm just the epitome of her. And I always wanted to just be like her. And, I saw that I was becoming an educator like her. And, I prided myself on being the best educator that I could be because I was trained by her. I was taught by her. And then I got to the point of getting my doctorate. I was like, I don't want to go to school anymore. But that's like, it's one more, just go on and get it. And that was one of my proudest moments, walking across that stage and my grandmother being there, even though dementia had started to set in, to greet me, and I would always pride myself and say, I got my doctorate degree because my grandmother, and, but somebody said, are you sure that you did it because of your grandmother? Or maybe you just worked real hard to do it so you would not be like your mother.
Wow.
I was like, ooh, clutch my pearl. Okay,
Right.
I didn't think of it that way. So sometimes childhood trauma can fuel you or it can damage you. You just have to see which it is. But If you're not careful, you can carry it into your marriage. Father being absent, I look for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
And not to put all the blame on him. I'm just saying this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, you look back on, you know, why you accepted this treatment from this person, why that. Yeah, childhood trauma is a beast. And if with Jesus and therapy, and we talk about mental wellness being a journey, it's like having a car. You got to do an oil change. You got to get your oil change. You got to make sure your transmission is all right. You don't just drive and don't look at it and don't pay attention to the warning lights and all of that. You know, just like you go to the doctor to make sure you're physically all right, you got to go make sure this mind is all right.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna let you give me some more with that.
Well, no, I like how you said that it can either fuel you or damage you, because for me, you know, I'm a 3-time college graduate, and a lot of people would always ask me, how did you become a 3-time college graduate and be a mom and go through everything? And like you said, I used mine to fuel me. And so that was very profound that you said that. So thanks for that confirmation.
I agree with LaTasha on that one, because when you said you can either use it to fuel you, I started thinking about me growing up and some of the trauma that I've had. And then I realized that I have let it fuel me. I was determined not to be, my biggest thing was for my trauma was my grandmother had a baby before she was out of high school. My mama had one before she was out of high school. My sister had one before she was out of high school. And I was like, no, it's not going to be me. I'm going to move past that. Fueled, and then with you saying, make sure you get those checkups. I think sometimes my lights be going off and I be trying to ignore them, but I like the way you're like, okay, you know that transmission need fuel, need changing. So I that really hit home for me. Thank you.
Yeah. And what a way to put that too. A good, you know, analogy, if you will, for how we need to check on ourselves and keep ourselves maintained, as I mentioned before. Absolutely. Speaking of maintaining, so Doc, what are some coping mechanisms that you have found to be helpful in dealing with your own pain or grief or even trauma?
Good question. I mentioned earlier that, you know, I'm just an encourager. I'm just an advocate. I'm just a defender of people. And I believe a lot of that is because I never want people to experience the rejection, neglect, abandonment, or just some of the things that I've experienced. So I go out of my way to make sure everyone that I can is seen or heard, you know, somebody, you have an advocate. However, you need to be very careful if you're that type of person.
Yes.
Because you can give of yourself till your cup is empty. And there'll be many times no one is there to fill your cup. Why? And it's just because they have their own stuff, and that's okay. So you just have to learn boundaries, even if you're that person. I had to learn boundaries. It was very hard. My pastor, he would say, Markeyta, you're wonderful in ministry. We thank God for you, but you need to learn boundaries. You're a people pleaser. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. You know, it's just because I said, I want everybody, you all right, you all right, you all right, you all right. Not even myself if I'm all right. Wow. So learn boundaries.
Yes.
I saw, okay, taking care of myself does feel a little good. I don't necessarily have to look outwardly to make sure I'm okay.
Yes.
And then I learned that no is a complete sentence. When you're used to being that person of emptying yourself, people will expect it, and you can't blame them because that's who you are. But when you learn boundaries and when you learn to say no, you have more time and you pay more attention to yourself, which helps your mental wellness. Stopping. And whatever habits or, you know, hobbies, not habits, but hobbies are things that you like to do. I'm a music. I can listen to a song on repeat for hours like I never heard it in my life. You know, like my song right now is I Trust in God, Maverick City.
Yes.
No, it's not Maverick City, it is Elevation Worship.
Elevation, I know.
And I listen to that song over and over. And some days I'm listening, I trust it. But some days I trust, it depends.
Yes.
But you have to find that thing.
Mm.
For me, for a little while, it was McDonald's little soft serve cone for $1 something. I go get my little soft serve cone. I was a little kid, and you have to find something that brings out the inner child in you, or
it's good.
or wakes up not the beast in you, but wakes up the joy in you.
Yeah.
I even at one point, a coping mechanism that I had after I experienced so many deaths, I started January 2022, I believe. I started a mantra. And I started little by little, and I added and I added and I added. I say it every morning. I still say it every morning, but I've added so much to it. It's just like rote almost. And that was a coping mechanism. I say, first thing I say is thank you, God, for the gift of life. I say every day I wake up as a gift. And then I go down my list. I say, today I owe to myself to be confident, to be focused, to be disciplined. I can, I must, I will. Today I choose not to accept the fear of uncertainty, but I instead choose to embrace the excitement of possibility. It's so much that I say, but that's been a coping mechanism. You have to feed our minds. Like it says in the Bible, let this mind be in you that is also in Christ Jesus. When God was telling us, we have to think about others, greater than ourselves and be humble, but you got to include yourself in that too. So I don't want to know, but my coping mechanisms have been music, sometimes, my little ice cream, but just finding things that feed your spirit and soul and your mind. And say no.
Say no. Hashtag no. That's it. My no is my no. And I'm going to add to that and not feel guilty about it.
That's it. That's going to take time. I still deal with
that. That's going to take time.
You know what I call it? I call it self-splaining. Why am I self-splaining to myself? Why? Okay.
That's good. That is so good. Oh my gosh. Listen, you were getting into some great tips, and I'm sure you have plenty to share with us, as this has been a journey for you, as it has for many of us. And we appreciate you sharing some of those tips, bringing out the joy. And I can hear the word unlock, like go in and unlock that happiness and bring that forth. But I really want to talk about also some sources of support. What have you tapped into in terms of your support, and how have they been effective for you?
That's a good question. And it's a question that I honestly need to think about even after our time together. Reason being is I have been a source of support for so many, and I never required people to be of support to me because I fed off of being there for others. And my grandmother, who is my mother, was my person, and she's gone almost 4 years. And if you've lost a mother, you never know how much of a filter they were, just for your life and things. But I'm not trying to sound cliche-ish, but I have to rely on God. I have best friends, but I've had to be there for them. I'm not saying they weren't there for me, but they've had their stuff. And I know that they had their stuff. So I don't go to them for a lot of things. But that's where, and for all of you that have parents and mates and partners and children, God bless you. I don't have I got my dog, I go to her too, you just look at me, but but I have honestly had to tap within myself. Just the little things, like I talk about the mantras. I go for a walk anytime I need to clear my mind or have a talk with Jesus or whatever. I go for a walk. I have found certain things more so than people. I have people, but I found certain things. Prayer, oh God, I can get down with prayer, and I've even included meditation. I have the Calm app. Okay, there's nothing spooky about that. It's just a silent prayer. When you pray, you talking to God. Hey God, hey. But for meditation time, you listening.
Come on. That's good.
Well, I ain't got nothing to say. I'm listening. I'm breathing and I'm listening. And he's speaking during meditation time. So for me personally, it's been more of a lot of things than people. But in the right time, I know it'll be more people. So thank you for asking that question. I need it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I like that. What meditation is, it's a time to listen, to be still. I need to do that more. So that I needed to hear that. I need to do more of that for sure.
I'm like this mantra. I need to get me one. Like,
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's
what?
just little stuff that'll come to you. Yeah, little stuff that'll come to you. Write it down. That's what I did. Little stuff that I want to say to the Lord and I said as soon as I wake up, it's like, and trust me, you're gonna have your own little thing. You'll be telling us, and I'm like, okay, then, you know.
Doctor, I actually practice that with my daughter. I mean, what I've been telling her is called words of affirmation, but it kind of is a little mantra because I tell her every morning, and I got this from Help. I tell her every morning, the movie. I asked Markeyta to say it. I am smart. I am beautiful. I am strong. I am important. And she's gotten into the habit of when she comes and gives me my hug in the morning after she brushes her teeth. She'll say it to me.
Yeah.
And that she got it, that she remembered to say it. So yeah, that definitely lifts the spirit. It definitely puts you in a mindset, a positive mindset about your day and about yourself. Because I used to have my little sticky notes on my I probably should get back into it. Have my little sticky notes on my bathroom mirror and have different things that I want to say. I would have a Monday mantra, and then I have a Tuesday or what I want to say to myself. So yeah, I definitely agree with you with those. We have to speak life into ourselves. We speak it into
life.
A lot of others. So, a lot of times we have to encourage ourselves.
Just real quick, I wanted to say, Davita, I do the same thing. And I adopted it from the Help too with my son. And I like how you said we have to pour life and speak life. And just like we do it for our children, we have to remember to do it for ourselves. So again, another note for me, self, to make sure that I'm pouring into myself. So Melonie, I'll be working on my affirmations, my mantra as well.
And to add to that, Davita, for our affirmations and our mantras, what I have learned, especially in this last year, is it's a part of manifestation. I say it, even if I don't believe it, I say it. Like with your daughter, I don't even know her, but I could feel that it's a part of that baby's life, that she is smart. And you know what? I have said it until I seen God work through it, and it.
Come on.
So those affirmations and mantras are our manifestation, and that helps with your mental.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's good. It's really good.
I'm definitely gonna have to try this because so I'm hearing you, and you have said some very powerful things, first of all. But when you said the speaking things and taking care of yourself and learning what you need, I've always been a person to make sure everybody else is okay. But honestly, just sitting here thinking and coming to realization within the last few weeks, I still don't know what it takes to make me be okay a lot.
Wow.
And you won't always. I still have those days. I definitely have not mastered it. It's a journey. It's a marathon. You have, your good strides. You jump in hurdles. You get in your banana. You get in the water. But then that cramp comes. That Charlie horse comes. And like, wait a minute, I'm trained. I done everything I was supposed to. So I get it. I have those days. And some days it's okay not to be okay. Don't please forgive me, but don't over spiritualize everything. It's okay not to be okay. We just, as believers, we can't stay there.
Exactly.
It's okay to have your little, I don't want to be bothered. I want to sit here in my pajamas and but don't stay there. But it's okay to do it. It's okay to have those days. So I'm not saying that you're doing it, but I'm thinking to myself, I beat myself up for that. Like I said, all that self-explaining and all that. You supposed to did, you know this, God didn't did. His track record is good with you. He been fit, and I still. But it's okay. It happens. We're human. Thing is, we have somebody and something that'll pull us up. Right when we need to. We don't have to stay there. And a lot of times what I think about too is, hey God, why am I here? This got to be for somebody else. So what am I taking from this that I can add to my testimony, to build on to when I speak, to build on to when I sing, to and it always come. I'm like, oh dang, that's what this was for. Oh, okay, guys, thank you. All right, so you all right? We on a journey, a marathon.
You made me think of a question just now, Crystal. When you said what you said, and I wanted to ask Dr. Markeyta, even if we get help and go through therapy, counseling, and all of that, do you think we will ever be healed completely from the things that we experience, whether it's, domestic abuse, trauma, grief?
That's a very good question. And God can, and God is able. Most definitely. It's like with deliverance. I'll take that.
Okay.
Some people want to be delivered from drugs. Sometimes God takes the taste away just like that.
Yeah.
That happens for some. For some, they may relapse. So He is more than able. We know that. Like I can only use my personal experiences. Like I've been through a lot with my biological mother, and God showed me in one dream of something that happened. I won't go into it, but He showed me how it would happen step by step, and it did. And He only did not show me one thing, and the one thing He did not show me, I was standing with my grandmother, and my biological mother was standing out in front of us outside, and she said to me in front of my grandmother, "F you." And to have a biological mother say that to you in front of the woman that took her and raised your daughter, or took me and raised me, it did something to me. And as time went on, she did some other things, but I had to say, God, she's hurting evidently. She's upset because her mother did well with me, and now she's in a position where she's needed me, and I knew I had forgiven her because we were cordial. But it took me back. I had to take a moment because that PTSD, and it was hard. It was hard. So God can do it immediately just like that because He is God. However, He has His reasonings for doing what He's doing. And maybe He took me on that journey so that I can share it and be more relatable. Who knows? Wow. But it's hard. Like even that cousin that tried to have sex with me at 8 years old, because I'm not in the same city with my family, but for years I have seen him, and it's so hard. He treats me like I did something, and it's hard. And you get to the point where you have to kind of separate yourself just so that you don't sin. The Bible says, "Be angry and sin not." And I know I can be angry, but I want to please God. Yes. That's where you have to sometimes, again, do what's best for you, because you don't always show up. That doesn't mean, you don't have forgiveness and all. No, you have to take care of you too. So, again, God can do it instantly, but it's a journey. I'm going to leave that there.
Oh, Markeyta, just because I don't always show up, don't mean. Listen, I just have to do this for me. What a really, LaTasha, you and I have talked about that a few times. What a solid answer. Wow. That's a tough one to answer, but listen, you did it well. You did that question justice. Thank you.
I'm with y'all. I'm on the journey.
And just to kind of go back to bring all of this together based on what you're saying, it is leading me, and I just have to ask this question. Why do you feel like us people of color, Black people, don't want to talk about our problems? And why are we, especially our Black men, told not to show pain or emotion? Like they always have this front that we just have to be so strong. We have to keep it together, and we're the opposite. But for whatever reason, we don't want to evolve from that. What do you think that stems from?
That question has so many layers. Just to kind of hit on it really quick, I spoke briefly about it being in our DNA, from slavery, how, and I would always watch the little slavery movies like, we stronger. It's more us. Why don't we just jump masculine them and go? It had us in our minds.
Yes.
It had us in our minds. And the thing about it is they beat it and beat it and beat it and beat it and beat it. Because if you ever saw Roots and you see what happened to Toby, Toby knew he was royalty. He knew where he came from. And that's our origin. We're royalty. but we got so beat down, I mean, continuously beat down in our minds. And to bring it up to date, no offense to any other race,
Right.
but we kills and masters everything we do beautifully, from athletics to intellect to biblically to beauty to fat. We kills it. But with societal issues, and I'm not gonna get into the Project 2025 on that. But it's a mental thing. They're still doing their best to beat us down. It honestly, just about everything, if not everything, goes back to us mentally.
Yes, I agree with that.
Even with being a believer.
Yes.
Because it's hard sometimes. I ain't gonna lie. It's hard sometimes to stand on the word of God, even when we know who God is, what He's done. It's still we gotta twist this old mind to get back to what we supposed to, what we know. It's hard. So us as Black people, we've been beat down so much that it's hard for us to, as a whole. That's why we can't come together and unify like we should.
Right.
Because, I know that we know we're intelligent, we know we're beautiful, but that's one part of it. Then the other part of it is, if you were raised in a charismatic Pentecostal church like I was raised, you tell the pastor, you don't go talk to nobody, tell nobody family business, you don't tell nobody what happened, you tell the pastor, you take it to God, and that's it.
Right.
No. Because even though we are spiritual beings, we are human, we're natural beings. We have a natural mind. God can transform us, renewing our mind, all that. Yes, He can and will. Done it. But we have to be practical sometimes. I have seen church people, their lives just go down because they listen. I'm going to say this right. They listen to teaching that wasn't necessarily biblically based, but it was religious. So you go with it because they said it. It necessarily had nothing to do with Jesus. That's how I'm going to the left. But okay. But yes, we've been beat down just genetically, DNA, societally, within our own culture and race, because of certain things like poverty, homelessness, abuse, trauma. And really quick regarding, and first of all, women, they consider us the lowest of the lowest.
Yes.
Right.
We're top of the top. If you look at statistics, we have the most businesses, Black women in the United States of America. So we holding it down in all kinds of ways, besides nursing their children and building and birthing. Yeah, we hold this thing together. But anyway, I'm gonna leave that there. But for the Black man, with being beat down, with everything that I said,
yes,
fortunately, society has done all they could to break the Black family.
Yes.
And I'm not blaming it all on society. We got to take
our part too.
Yep.
Right. However, really quick, I was married. My ex-husband is deceased, and I know he wouldn't mind me saying this. We were still friends until I buried him a little over a year ago. But he was a very intelligent man, raised in a 2-parent home, raised in church. He got into politics. The person that he worked for in politics, she became crooked. And for them to get her, they fabricated, I was a part of all of this to see it unfold in court. They fabricated a trial against him. He wasn't even found guilty. But in the midst of it, she played a deal, but they couldn't just stop his trial. So anyway, because I heard the judge say, because I'm part of the sentencing guidelines, I'm just going to give you time. Wow. And this, we were engaged. So I'm saying all that to say, this brilliant Black man who was taught to be strong, not show emotion, was beat down by the government he so proudly served. And during that time, had all of this come on at him, and his health began to fail. He ended up with end-stage renal disease, ended up with cancer, trying to take care of an elderly father. This all goes back to your mental wellness. When I went through a depressive state, I got so depressed. That my pastor knew. I only found peace and solace in worship for that hour leading worship. And I was a licensed minister. But after that, I went back to depression, and I killed the bottle of wine every day.
Wow.
Because I was so depressed. And then it started to eat at my body and my health was failing.
Yeah.
So like I said, this is so multi-layered, but these are all the reasons why Black people just don't open up. We don't trust.
That's it.
And that right there can go.
That right there.
It starts with us. We don't trust us. We don't trust. It could be a whole bunch of.
That was powerful. And you are correct on the we don't trust. And I've always said that someone can beat you down. And I mean physically. And you may actually come out looking better afterwards. The scars will heal, your skin will clear up. But when somebody beats you down mentally, that's one of those things that you can't bounce back from sometimes. That mental beating. So that in itself was powerful. We don't trust. And then after all of the beat down after beat down after beat down, you want me to now trust? That's a hard pill to swallow. I don't know if that mental wellness part of kind of redirecting yourself, reestablishing yourself, making sure that you are getting that help that you need to help us, I think, grow into where we one day will be able to talk about these things. And men will be able to show their emotions. I hope they do. I hope they listen to this and decide, hey, Doc was right. We need to start showing these emotions.
Can I have one quick closing thought and I'm done?
Absolutely.
With the holidays coming up, suicide rates are at their highest during the holidays. Your community, whether it's a church community, a friend. Listen, I'm an introvert. I could be by myself and I'm cool. However, do something. Get out of that, but go for a walk. Go look at the Christmas lights. Do something. Let this be the first of many holidays where you're your Christmas gift. You're the reason to be thankful at Thanksgiving.
That's good.
Okay, do something new this holiday season for yourself. I guarantee you won't regret it.
Oh man, thank you for those final thoughts. What an amazing, amazing conversation. We thank you for all the nuggets, the tools, the tips that you dropped. Thank you for bringing in your passion and even your own personal stories to share with us. As we know, we don't go through these things just for ourselves. As one of our sayings here in the Inspire Her Network is, sharing is caring. If you care, you'll share. So thank you for that. So Dr. Markeyta, where can our followers, our listeners find you and find more information about your organization?
You can find out more information about me on my website. It's www.marlatsco, that's MARLATSCO.com. When you first get there, you see the business and the music side, which is a great part of me, but there's a tab at the top that says Let's Be Well Inc., NFP. That is my nonprofit, the nonprofit branch of the Marlatsco Group, LLC. That's how you can reach me. You can leave me a message on any part of the website. I would love to get with you. I do virtual workshops. I do virtual peace and healing circles. We can get into that later, but that's a safe, non-clinical space for it's not therapy, but it's almost like an AA meeting, but it's a safe space for us to come together to talk about anything. Nothing is off limits. So I can offer that for you. So reach out to me. I want to hear from you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that information. And again, thank you for being here. We value you. Amen. We are always looking for purpose partners, so we welcome you to explore and learn more about the Inspire Her community by visiting www.inspirehernetwork.org. We truly encourage you to be well, especially during the holiday season. Always remember that you are truly, truly amazing. You're unique in each and every way, and you were created and designed for a purpose on purpose. So remember to go forth, be bold, be courageous, and as always, be inspired.